you doing, YouTube? It's Will from Will Development, and this is my 396th weekly update. So yeah, did not get the opportunity to do an update last week. It was a four and a half, give or take, hour drive to get up to Tallahassee for me, which that's actually a funny thing, and I think I touched on it at least last week, with regards to exactly how large this state is, this state being Florida. I drove the exact distance and amount of time and drove to 2 different states. I went through Georgia to South Carolina to go to Clash Finals. And the same exact distance, and I just stayed in Florida and just ended up at the capital of the state, which is Tallahassee, where I did compete as well as sponsor the Iron Vault Classic, the first, hopefully annual, Iron Vault Classic, which I believe I discussed, that would have been 2 weeks ago now, my bad. But it was actually a pretty pleasant weight cut. I did diet down, give or take, 5 or so pounds. I was walking around 190 or so, and then dieted down 5 real pounds, I would call it. And then went on to then cut that following 10, which was just basically carb manipulation for the first 5. And then I was eating all the way up until Wednesday, just having protein, which I was just eating eggs, just dry eggs with no salt. But you know, it helps keep the energy up. And then just sweat it out. Only took 4 or so sessions in the little personal sauna I have now, which is much better than getting in the tub with the Epsom salt. Much better. For one, you can escape from it a lot faster. I'd say there's pros and cons. I'd say the biggest con to the personal sauna is that the chair gets soaked with your sweat after a while. And so when you get out of it and then go back into it, even if you seal it up, it cools off a little bit. And it's gross when you're sitting down for that first few seconds and it's just cold and wet. It's gross. Other than that, honestly, with that and the puddle that ended up on the floor of the tent was also kind of gross. I think next time I do it, I may just bring a pair of flip-flops and put them in there so I have something to rest my feet on so it's not quite as gross. I mean, I know it's my own sweat and steam from the machine, but it's still icky. You know what I mean? But yeah, really great cut, and then refeed went amazingly. I'm going to try to replicate exactly what I did, because 8 every 2 hours, took down about a half a gallon of water, just pure water with electrolytes and some creatine in it, and then also had an entire, I guess it's like a liter, I think. There's at least 2 quarts of orange juice and then one liter of cranberry juice. Just mix the 2 together and drink it down. Great way to get some extra calories, get the carbs back in there, get the glucose and the glycogen stores replenished, and also get some fluids in. So, you know, like I said, I was hungry until meal 8. Honestly, I was eating my 8th meal for the day, and I was still hungry. And because I was constantly hungry, I was like, all right, well, I'll just wait to treat myself. I do like to treat myself, but only after I've had a good number of meals. I'm not the guy who goes and just has like French toast first thing, you know, or like a donut or pizza. I know better. I know it's going to just bloat me too much. I'm going to feel like shit the whole day, and then it's going to be hard to actually put down the amount of calories that I should be putting down. All in all, this refeed, I probably only had about 7,000 calories, which some of my refeeds have been upwards of 10. So, yeah, I had about 7, and woke up the next day and actually felt pretty okay, which was great. Very, very happy about that. Because the last one where I cut those 20 pounds in like 4 days, I did not feel good after the refeed. I did the late weigh-ins, and then the refeed, I only got to eat like 4 meals. So getting like 5,000 calories in 4 meals was really tough, and everything about that was a bad one. But I felt like shit pretty much until like the second to last event. Maybe the last 3 events I didn't feel like total shit. Versus this time, I felt pretty good right from the start of the day. Got some good water in me. It was one of those deceptive days out there where normally in Florida it's pretty humid. And so you just feel the sweat on you all the time, and you can kind of feel yourself slowly getting dehydrated. This was one of those deceptive days. It was very windy, very sunny, and it was almost like being in the West. It reminded me of when I was in Vegas, and like I'm just like all of a sudden I'm super thirsty, and I can't understand why I haven't been sweating, and it's just because the sweat's doing what it's supposed to. It's just evaporating off the second it reaches the reaches your skin, and that's what was happening on Saturday. So it was one of those drinks and Pedialytes because I didn't bring enough spiked water, and lots of honey throughout the day. That's my not pro tip go-to for things to eat during a comp. I know a lot of people like peanut butter and jellies sandwiches a lot of times, and I think that's fine. You got a lot of sugar and a lot of quite a bit of fat in there too, and just a touch of protein. My only thing is you don't really need protein throughout the day when you're competing, but you do need sugar, and you also don't want to put a lot of heavy stuff down. And for me, breads usually tend to give me a little bit of a bloat, and I don't like that. So I just drink honey, however you want to describe the motion of it, squeezing that bottle into my mouth. I don't even really like honey that much. Like, it's fine. I know some people are obsessed with this stuff and they can't get enough of it, but for me it's really not that. If it didn't exist, my life wouldn't change at all. Other than at competitions I'd find some other thing to eat. It'd probably just be some other type of fruit, honestly. Couldn't imagine what I would pick. I'd probably make like smoothies beforehand and just bring them, and I literally just mean like blended fruit juice, with a bunch of different types. But yeah, that's my not pro tip. Honey, it's really good. It'll keep your energy levels up, and it's not heavy, so it won't make you feel sick either. And I don't think anybody's allergic to it either, right? Are people allergic to honey? I don't know. Only thing I know about honey and allergies is that if you get locally sourced honey, it's supposed to actually help your allergies. Something about the pollen being in it or something like that. I don't know. I'm not that guy. I'm not the dietitian dude. But as for the show, I found out on Wednesday that the other person who was supposed to be competing in my class with me was going to just go up to the 200s. Which I later found out he was walking around 215 on like Tuesday, and or even Monday, and I'm like, yeah, you were never gonna make 175 ever. And I talked about it in the Instagram post that I made. There's a different type of stress when you're the only person in a particular class, because the sort of duty to perform is a little bit higher. Like, if I had somebody else in my class and let's say I zeroed 3 out of the 5 events, I wouldn't feel so bad, because I'm sure the guy who goes after me is going to put on a pretty good show, you know what I mean? Or I would hope he could. So I had to, it's a different stress to try to make sure I'm putting on a good show and showing that I do belong out there, because, I mean, this was my 13th or 14th or even 15th comp. I'd have to look. I think I kept saying 17th, and that was wrong. It's closer to 15. And it'd be pretty sad if at this point I couldn't at least handle the majority of the events, you know what I mean? And that being said, I did. Of course, with the shoulder being the shoulder, it's slowly getting better, but it is what it is. I started to clean the 220 axle, and like, even that, I was just like, man, this thing's giving me a lot of grief. Even if the shoulder and everything went great, and let's say I hit like 225 in training once, you know what I mean? the way this thing's feeling right now, the way my shoulder's been feeling, even in the one warm-up I did at like 160, it hurt, and I'm like, cool, great, grand, you know what I mean? Well, you know, if I push hard enough, it won't have to actually press till you're right here, where it doesn't really hurt as much, and it was just a thing, so I had it like right here, and I was just like, it's not worth it, man. I'll just kill it on the next events, you know? And I was sort of gauging myself with the heavyweight novice group, because a majority of the events were the same weight as mine. And I actually did have some heavier events, like my sandbag and my keg were heavier than theirs, and I believe my car deadlift was too. But the next event was the car deadlift, and I'm like, hey, I'm okay at that. I ended up getting like 7 reps, I think, which in warm-ups, I had just touched it and hit the car and was kind of trying to find that sweet spot where I was just kind of leg pressing away. And when I did just the car, I was like, cool, I found my footing. It's actually not that bad. I could probably get 15 with this. It's pretty light. Then they threw 25 pounds like right on the weight posts that they have behind the handles, and it changed everything. Where I stood didn't feel right. The weight was so much heavier. Everything about it was just different. I was like, cool. So I ended up with 7, but I was still happy with that. And then the next event was the Farmers, and I was trying to get sub 10 seconds with 250 a hand. I was going slightly uphill, but it's no excuse, honestly. My pick was slow, but I did go pretty fast once I got moving. I should have done thumbless, so I could have gone even a little bit faster and maybe made up that extra 1.5 seconds to get sub 10. But I still put on a really good show for the people with that one. Part of the reason I didn't go thumbless is because I talked a lot of shit just before I went and did the Farmers about it being a really good event for me and stuff like that. So I was like, you cannot drop these Farmers, you know what I mean? And I didn't, and it was a good run. And then the bag toss, which was like I was dreading getting to. I thought it was going to be terrible, you know what I mean? Because I knew I could do the 25 pretty easy, but that 30 bag, I mean, I had never gotten R30 at the gym over, 11 feet basically. And, I got there and I hit the 25 pretty easy. I have more confidence with the event now because of how well it went on Saturday. To the point where I'm like, hey, now I actually want to focus on being faster at this event now that I know I actually do have the ability to complete more than I thought I could. It only takes me about 3 swings to wind up and then throw. And, now that I'm better at it, I'm like, hey, I should probably work on one motioning a couple of these, that kind of thing. And what I mean by that is the 25 flew over pretty easy. Went for the 30, and it was just me, so I was kind of taking my time anyway, but I went for the 30, and I watched it as it went, and I was about that close to actually hitting the bar and possibly even going over, and I was like, oh man, I'll give that another shot. And I said, I said in my head before I even started, I said, I'm going to give 3 tries. If I can't do it in 3, I'm done. I went to the other side of the upright, 1, 2, 3, and then on 4 I threw it. When I threw it, I looked, and what I saw was the bar here, and I saw the bag go here and go underneath it. And then when I looked at the judge was like, nice, cool. And I was like, nice, what are you talking about? And he was like, it went over. And I was like, it went over? And I was pumped. I mean, because again, that's 3 more feet than I've ever thrown that. So that was a huge PR for me, and it felt great. Of course, I had to give the 35 a shot at least. I think I knew in my heart it wasn't going to go very far, especially after being worn out from 3 throw attempts. But yeah, it's actually given me the drive to sort of work harder in that event and possibly even get really good at it. Which, of course, naturally means no comp I sign up for is going to have it for the next 1.5 years. That's usually how it goes, right? But it's still good explosive training, so yeah, I'm going to keep working at it. And now I know if I can get the 30 at the gym over a 14, I could probably throw anything a 175 would have to throw. So that's exciting to think about. And then the final event was stones. And I'm going to speed it up just a little bit here because I will give a full comp breakdown. But the stones was an interesting event for me because I had originally thought I was going to be finishing on a 300 stone, which is very nerve-wracking but exciting. I was excited to give it a shot. You know what I mean? I believe our height was 52 inches, which is somewhere around here-ish, give or take. No, about probably my chest height, give or take. And ended up just doing the 275 to finish it, so it was a 210, a 240, and a 275. And you know, I watched the two heavyweight novice men go, and they both actually failed at the 240. And I was like, man, I'm way stronger than both of these guys. I know how to use tacky properly. I know how to wear my clothes properly for this event. What I'm really good at is competing. I know how to compete because I've done so much of it. I just need to get stronger and work certain, and you know, possibly even a little faster, more conditioned. All the things you need to do as a strongman. The other three things. The fourth thing is be good at competing, which I'm good at that now. You know, now I just need to catch up the other three, my strength, speed, and stamina. So watch those two guys go, and in my head I had the plan. I said, all right, you're going to one motion the 210. You're going to attempt to one motion the 240. And then you're going to take all the time you need for that 275, because that was the highest I've ever loaded at 275, is the 52 inch. And it worked, you know, I one motioned the 210, but when I did it, I lost a little confidence because I was just a touch too close to the platform when I did it, so I ended up kind of having to turn and do it, and that slowed me down because I also was nervous because I didn't want to drop it, so that threw me off a little bit, and I was like, just take your time with the 240 then. Took the time, put it in the lap, got it up, pretty much no problem. Clearly not an issue for me, right? And then the 275, took the tacky, you know, and went for it, and it was like a slow motion stone load. I mean, I got it to here, and then it stuck, got up on the toes, and then finally just got it on the platform, and you know, finished the event in about 36 seconds, I think was my official time, which was just awesome. Just a great feeling. It's the third time I've finished a stone run with a 275 that I made. So it's a cool little feeling there, I'm not going to lie. But the cool thing about the stone event was before I went, it showed me how much more experienced I was than a lot of the people there, because I saw a lot of the novice guys standing around, and I just kind of kept going, you sure you're going to leave your shirt like that? You don't want to tie it behind you? You sure you want to wear those baggy shorts? You know? You sure you don't want to put some tacky on the back of your hand? That kind of thing, you know? And it made me feel good because I know I learned all those things from some other older guy showing me, and now I'm that guy passing along. And what's funnier is a lot of those novices were actually older than me in actual age, but I'm way older than all of them in strongman age. Especially, you know, I've been in the sport for 9 years or so, and I've been, you know, all of these competitions, and I've picked up little bits and pieces from each one of them, you know, so. All right, that's a really long one, but I figured I owed you from last week, right? So average these out, you're about 10 minutes a piece. That's not bad. People, I'm trying to give you your money's worth, which, since it's free, you're getting a great deal. Anyway, I still have plenty of footage I need to upload at some point whenever I get a free minute. I will do all that and put up all those, and as well as shoot comp recap videos about the last 3 I've done, because I have Mayhem, I have Orlando's, and then I have this as well. Which one? Iron Vaults to do. And I will get to all of them, I promise. It's just one of those things. God, I still have to do a yearly update. We may just skip that and just do it next December or something, and just make it that way. Because, yeah, I'm way behind on that. I know I've been slacking on the channel. It's one of those things. I've got things that actually make me money versus this, which does not make me money. So my time and energy goes towards things that make me money, and this is not one of them. So forgive me. Everything you want will eventually show up here, I promise. And have a little patience. And never quit, man. I use that video from the 275, and I show people right here. There's a point in it where I'm lifting the stone. I said, right here, will quit. I didn't. I was done. There was nothing left. Something else takes over at that moment. When you're right there and you're just like, I'm done. I can't do this. And it's almost like it's not you doing it anymore. This is also one of the few stone loads that I did where I didn't feel like I was about to pass out, even though the stone was basically on my chest. So I'm trying to review it and see, like, okay, how did I brace and everything, because I want to try to replicate that as much as I can to prevent myself from passing out on stones. Hasn't happened yet, but boy, it's been close. That one at Manatee was actually really close. That really did take everything out of me. And I did the same exact stone. Well, style. They both should weigh about the same. 275-ish. To a much higher height. With probably just about as much effort. So yeah. Make the pain worth it. Don't quit. That's actually 2 things I learned from Andrew Clayton. Which, if you don't know who he is, look him up. And, because you get to taste the glory once it's all over. Just like I did. Put on a really good show for the crowd, and imparted some wisdom. That was one of the best parts, too. Yeah. So don't quit just when it gets tough. The goal's usually right behind that point where you quit. If you do, then what's your excuse?